What is the crack? Welcome back to my channel where we internalize things, take a look at them and spit them back out to give you a perspective that can give you a little bit more love and a little bit more balance. Because who doesn't need a bit more love and a bit more balance in their day? And the aim of the game is to uplift the consciousness so we can live in that vibration of love and move past that vibration of fear and just really enjoy our lives, like.
Yurt cuz.
So today what I'm going to do is part 2, a story time. I'm going to tell you the story about the time I was dealing with 2 narcissists, part 2. Because there's a lot that happens in there, a lot of big events, and you could miss over things when you're talking about it. So in episode 1, I just talked about briefly dealing with 2 of them and how I dealt with them. If you want to go check that video out, Yurt. So dealing with 2 narcissists, part 2 is about a time when narcissist number 2, the friend narcissist, turned up at a comedy gig that I was doing, went on stage and did a set about me and tried to destroy me in front of the audience. So I'm going to jump right in. Let me set the scene. It's been a month. Haven't seen or heard from the guy. Pretty good because, you know, I cut him off. I blocked him on everything. It was just cold turkey. Boom, boom. Block. Absolutely block. Because you have to deal with it. And the best way to deal with it is to block them. No control. Give them absolutely no control. No contact. So I decided I wasn't going to go to any of the comedy nights because I was doing comedy at the time. I was going to the open mics and I was working on my set. And I decided I would wait until I wasn't so emotionally charged and emotionally connected still. Or vulnerable even. And susceptible to getting triggered. So I thought I'd wait a while until that wears off. Because there's nothing worse than when you're in a room with someone who is a narcissist and you've had that dynamic with them. There's nothing worse when you're in there and the wounds are still fresh. And they are still going about their way, trying to throw digs at you. And no one else can see it, only you. Because no one else is thinking about it. It's very hard to try and describe that to anyone who is around you. That's the whole gaslighting thing, isn't it? But anyway, I was like, I'm not going to put myself through that scenario. So I'll just step away until he either burns his bridges and bounces, or until I'm well enough within myself to go there and withstand any of the bullshit he tries to pull. But it was coming up to a night that I had already committed to. I was going to be hosting an open mic. I was thinking, will he turn up or not? A part of me thought maybe he won't turn up out of respect. Because you don't want to be messing... You don't want to be messing stuff up when it comes to being on stage and being professional or whatever. Those are that's my thinking. Obviously not his thinking though. Because he did turn up. So I get to the night there and it's unreal. I'm excited. I get to host it. I'm excited about it. I get to be fun. I get to be funny, and I get to do my favorite job in the world, which is hosting events. So when he comes in, I immediately feel that fear connect. But I'm on stage, and I feel more powerful on stage than I ever do feel afraid. I think like if I've ever been afraid before I went on stage or been dealing with something, it just disappears the minute I go on stage. Part of my soul has just made the decision that like whenever I go on stage, I'm powerful. That's it. Doesn't matter how I feel. I'm going to overcome how I feel. If it's a low vibration, my vibration is just going to rise by it. That's just the decision that my soul made. Thank you very much for making that decision. So I'm thinking, how do I introduce this guy with integrity? Because right now, I hate the guy. Right now, I don't personally believe he is a good comedian. Well,
Has potential to be.
who am I to say what a good comedian is, because it's subjective really. But that was my belief at the time. So it's like, I don't want to lie, but I also don't want to put him down, and I don't want to go against myself. These are the questions that I was asking. Anyway, it goes to half time. Some of my Buddhist friends are in the audience. I was a practicing Nichiren Buddhist at the time. I'm still a Nichiren Buddhist, but I don't practice like I did before. I'll get back into it eventually. Very useful tool for accessing that wisdom, courage and compassion. So they explained to me it's your obligation to fulfill the night, and once you can do that with integrity, this sort of a lesson may not have to arise in your life again. So you just keep your integrity, stick to your commitment, and get to the end of the night and you've passed your test. And I'm like, all right, cool. So it comes to the time when I have to bring him up on stage, and I'm like, okay, let me find a way to introduce him. When I say, ladies and gentlemen, such and such a person is coming up on stage and I've seen him, be afraid, yeah, still go up and rock it. So put your hands together for such and such a guy. People clapped. It was unreal, and I felt good because I said a positive thing, not a negative thing, and it was true. So I kept my integrity. Cause anyway, he was surprised because he was not expecting such a nice little uplift. He was expecting the challenge, of course, because that's how he views the world, and that's how he believes other people act as well. He immediately proceeds to do a whole set about how I am a shit human being. Now, what you have to remember, if this happened now, I'd be just standing there going, that is pathetic. That is awful behaviour. But at the time, the wounds were still fresh. So I was not able to access that because the wounds were still fresh and I was still energetically connected through fear. So I was feeling those fears and I was feeling those vulnerabilities. Also, it's interesting how when you meet a narcissist, they'll always know what your insecurities are and it will manifest itself. And I guess what that showed me was my insecurity is to be seen in the wrong light when I'm on stage, or to lose that power that I have on stage, or for my character to be assassinated and then I can't win the audience over. Because I spent years practicing how to win the audience over. No matter who it is in the audience, how do you win them over? That was always my drive. And I'm like, oh God, I feel the fear, I'm getting triggered. I have to leave the room because it's like it's like a claustrophobic attack. I'm like, oh, nobody can see what's going on, only me. Oh God, I gotta get out of here. As I'm running out of the room, I go, fuck that guy. He tried to box the head off me 2 weeks ago. Fuck him, don't listen to him. He's on your lying cunt. Everyone starts laughing and then kind of like, woo. So there's a weird atmosphere. There's a weird atmosphere because, you know, some of the jokes he said were funny, but then he got a little bit too angry and aggressive and it wasn't funny. It set a weird tone. And I imagine people could see through that as well, but at the time I didn't believe it to be so. Anyway, I run outside to catch my breath, get some air, get my thoughts back together again, and some of my friends come out and they tell me, like, you know, get through the night, stick to your commitment, you can do it. Totally fine, you can do it. This is your spiritual challenge. Can you get there? I'm like, all right, cool. Let me get back up on stage and let me own it again. Let me find it. And I'm thinking, how can I own it and find it? How can I be funny in a scenario where I feel attacked, I feel threatened, I feel sad, I feel vulnerable? Maybe just admit that, just say that, just express that to the audience. And I thought, okay, let me do that. So I went back up after the break and I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry. You came here tonight for comedy and you got EastEnders. I personally believe stuff like that should not be aired out on stage in front of an audience. It's not professional. I don't agree with it, but I just need to tell you right now, I am quite scared and I feel quite vulnerable. But I will find the funny. I promise you I will find the funny. Narcissist pops up and goes,
yeah, we're all just reflections of each other, aren't we?
So he's trying to, you know, win. He's trying to make me feel insecure. And I just responded with, yeah, man, and you're a reflection of my childhood insecurities. And then someone in the audience goes, aw. And I went, thank you. And then everyone laughed. And then I'm like, we found the funny again. That's unreal, by fair play. Woo, woo, woo. So I start to grow in confidence, grow in power. The fear starts to shift. The power starts to arrive, or the calmness, or the centeredness, the fun, the feeling of fun, the fun freedom, or the joyful the playfulness. That's what it was. The playfulness started to arrive again. And I'm feeling quite powerful. And as the playfulness starts to arrive, he ends up leaving. Obviously he realizes he has no power, like he's lost it, it's gone. Tried to assassinate me on stage, didn't happen, didn't work for him. And at the end of the night, the owner, the guy who was running it, who asked me to host it, came over and said, I'm very sorry for what he put you through. He shouldn't have done that. That was very unprofessional. I roasted him for it. He didn't say roasted, but he roasted him for it. And I'm thinking, this is amazing. First of all, I was like, thank you very much. That's very validating. I was afraid of the opposite happening, and I was afraid you've seen it the other way. Because anyone, if you've dealt with a narcissist and you've been gaslit, your fear is essentially that no one else can see what the hell is going on. But for the outside world to see that and to come to me and express that, I felt like that's unreal. I've been doing some great internal work. If everything is just a reflection of you, well then that means I was still a little on edge, so that turned up as a reflection. But I also believed in the truth of this scenario and I could see it for what it was, which also turned up in the form of a person who validated that. And I was like, this is unreal. With this perspective, and with this ability to view things, everything just makes sense. And what I realized is when you can make sense of what's going on, it's very easy then to accept and make peace. Well, very easy. It's a journey, but it's easier. With that said, I went home and I don't remember much after that. I do remember doing an old Snapchat about like, fuck you, bye, blah, 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 come and attack me on stage, that's not professional, blah. Which I don't mind because I was just being truthful and being honest about where I was at. one of the things that did bother me though was the fact that, like, you know, the group of friends, some of the friends were there and they're on his side still, like, and I'm like, God damn it, how can they? I was just thinking, like, how can they not see? How can they not see how I am and the words that I'm saying and the truth that I'm speaking? How can they not feel where I'm coming from and still believe where he's coming from? You know what I mean? How could you watch his set and think that he was right, is what I'm saying. But then they are susceptible and they have been kind of fed his lies and his stories. So I guess that's part of the reason why. Either way, I'm quite happy that it happened, because I grew a lot in that moment and realized, like, yeah, I'm becoming a pretty solid human being. Like, so this is not a diss towards said narcissist. Don't hate said narcissist. Don't hate any of the guys that don't talk to me either. Because I learned from it, and I see it helped me to perceive things deeper, which I'm grateful for. Let me know in the comments if you had to deal with something like this before and how you have dealt with it, and if you're liking these kind of videos and you want me to do a part 3. And shout out to everyone who's left a few comments in the last video and for liking it. And we're at 50 subscribers now, which is unreal, bye. When we get to 100, I'm going to do something to celebrate. I also have intentions to set up a Discord so we can have a nice little conscious community who takes care of each other. That's the intention. We Are All Class is just a journey to the why. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Yurt, cuz.
It's B to the U to the BBA.